Hello and welcome to an episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason, and behind me is a special shrine in a California national landmark monument dedicated to one of my all-time favorite groups, the Beach Boys. Yes, I'll definitely have plenty of history, plus I'll be taking you to a few more places here. This is Hawthorne, California, and this is where the Wilson brothers and the other band members grew up. And right in front of me, as a matter of fact, is the former home of David Marks, who was an original member. Let me go ahead and pan that out to you. All right, so David Marks was an early member of the band, and it does look like somebody does live here, and that's fine. Don't worry. Just be respectful if you do come out here. He did rejoin the group for their 50th anniversary tour, which was 10 years ago. And technically this year, 2022, is the 60th anniversary, but unfortunately nothing like a tour or a new album came about. But we all know the Beach Boys aren't getting any younger. And unfortunately there's still a little bit of bad blood and a little bit of creative confusion within the group. And that's, in a way, it's been kind of a mixed blessing, because part of that is because it's kind of hard to explain. But anyway, they were very successful because the group was wanting to go in different directions. Like Mike Love wanted to put more fun, upbeat surf music. Brian Wilson, who was the main songwriter of the group, he wanted to take it in a more serious direction. So first off, I'm gonna read this plaque, which was placed here in 2005, May 2005. All right, so site of the childhood home of the Beach Boys. It was here in the home of parents Murry and Audrey that Brian, Dennis, and Carl Wilson grew to manhood and developed their musical skills. During Labor Day weekend 1961, they, with cousin Mike Love and friend Al Jardine, gathered here to record a tape of their breakthrough song, Surfin'. This marked the birth of the rock group known worldwide as the Beach Boys, and the beginning of a musical legacy that would change the recording industry. The music of the Wilsons, Love, Jardine, and friend David Marks broadcast to the world an image of California as a place of sun, surf, and romance. Brian Wilson would become a legendary producer, arranger, and songwriter. And this is a California Registered Historical Landmark number 1041. And yes, the Beach Boys and Jan and Dean, among a few other, most of them one-hit wonder surf groups, they are credited for giving people the California illusion that people that live in California, all they do is go to the beach and surf. Well, most people who visit California will find out that that's not necessarily the case. I mean, yeah, you can go to the beach, but there's more to California than just that. But, all right. So on top of the base is an image of the 6 Beach Boys. That is pretty much how a lot of people remember them, because they're all carrying the surfboard and all that. Now these are the donors. The Wilson boys, our boys, the Beach Boys, Cougars forever. And here's just in the city of Hawthorne. See what else is on this side. And in addition to the sponsors at the base, you have Dennis Wilson. Now, I'm not going to go into the complete details and history of each bandmate, but Dennis Wilson, unfortunately, was the first to pass away. He drowned in the Pacific Ocean, and I mean, there's a lot of details that go with it, but I'm not going to go into that. But his life was said to be tragic, but he was more the quiet one, and he released one album, which was very unsuccessful, but today a lot of people consider it a masterpiece. Carl Wilson, he died of lung cancer in 1998, but he was known as the guy with the voice of the angel. Like, people would recognize his voice right away when you hear his harmony and solo. Brian Wilson. This summer I missed my chance to see him live, but he was touring with Chicago this year, or I'm sorry, this summer. And I had something else going on, but I definitely want to see Brian Wilson. But one of my friends who lives in Indianapolis, he saw him and it was kind of disappointing, but you know, when you get older, what can you say? But Brian Wilson, He's definitely a genius, but in many ways he was also a troubled genius. And I don't really want to get into their personal lives or their what they went through when they were growing up, because yeah, there's kind of a lot of drama there. Then you got Mike Love, the most charismatic, arguably, of the Beach Boys. Now, many people consider him to be, I don't know what the clean version of, he's more outspoken. Okay, that's the best way I can put him. Al Jardine. Him and Brian Wilson and a couple of the other past and present bandmates have toured together. Al Jardine was going to be a dentist, but I think things worked out for him as a rock star. Lastly, you got David Marks, and I already showed you his house, which is just directly right across the street from this. And again, I'm not going to get into the history because there's so much to tell, you know, about all their classic albums and all their songs and everything that lasted for many decades. But I will say that Murry, the father of the Wilsons, was born in Hutchinson, Kansas, but he was raised here in Los Angeles. And then he decided to start a family here in Hawthorne. And by the way, Hawthorne is named after Nathaniel Hawthorne. So yeah. So in case you're wondering why the house is not here, well, it had to be torn down because they had to make way for the freeway, or the 105, or Interstate 105, however way you want to say it. So unfortunately, I mean, if it was still standing, it would probably be a museum, or I don't know, maybe somebody with a lot of money would buy it out and just say, hey man, no trespassing. It seems that's the kind of the case here in Southern California, but what do I know? But I am grateful that the state of California, as well as many others, have helped preserve the legacy of this. So I'm going to go ahead and take you to some of the hangouts and Beach Boy related landmarks, so come on and join me. All right, so the building I'm approaching is York Elementary School, and that is where the Wilson brothers got to learn their ABCs. It is part of the Hawthorne School District, and their mascot is the Superstars. All right, now to the next spot. All right, so right off Hawthorne Boulevard is the site of a former hangout where all the Wilson brothers, as well as Mike Love, they all hung out here at the Foster's Freeze. The chain goes back to 1946. However, the chain has been the company's been kind of going under. I don't want to say it like that, but they once had over 100 locations, but now they are down to 66. There have been plenty that are still around California, but a lot of them have shuttered, and unfortunately this one in Hawthorne is one of them. But they always took pride in the fact that the Beach Boys got their fix for sweets and hamburgers here. And there used to be a poster, well, it's probably behind that white board. And then there's the ATM machine, but I think this location closed right before, well, what happened 2 years ago in 2020. But again, this is the Foster's Freeze. All right, now to the next location. So in front of me, not the hair salon, or Heavenly Hairs it's called. This is the place where Brian Wilson would hang out with his buddies and his brothers on Friday nights. He'd drive up the strip in his 1957 convertible, park somewhere along here, and according to his bandmates and brothers, he'd be gobbling up that pizza, and it is still open. And it looks like they got a pretty decent menu. They got spaghetti, lasagna, a pizza boat sandwich. Okay, that sounds good too. All right, so this, my friends, is the pizza show. All right, now I'm gonna go down to the road. I'll show you the last landmark for the Beach Boys. Here we go. All right, so the final stop on this Beach Boys tour is O'Reilly Auto Parts. Well, kinda. Okay, so an A&W drive-in once sat here, And a lot of us still remember what it was like to be in one of those. I'm not talking about like the more commercialized ones that sometimes you see them combined with like Long John Silver's or Taco Bell or KFC under the Yum brands. And it was here, the reason I'm showing you this is because this is a place where they first heard their music on the radio. That song Surfin', which is mentioned on the marker, it was played on the radio, and for them it was a big deal. Now remember, you know, before streaming and internet music and whatnot, I mean, radio was the gateway of stardom for musicians and rock stars. Now sometimes a lot of one-hit wonders and those who never duplicated their success would fade into time, but not the Beach Boys. They knew they were destined for stardom when they heard Surfing on the radio. All right, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Historically Marked Rock and Roll Edition. And I know there's probably a few places that I left out, such as the high school, but the elementary school I thought was better than nothing. But I would like to hear your favorite Beach Boys song, or if you have a top 5 or a top 10. I have a top 10 list myself because they're one of my top 3 favorite bands of all time, or groups. They are in fact the most important and the most successful American rock and roll group of all time. So, I mean, as far as like sales and Billboard chart success and all that. So, let me know in the comments. All right, I'm Jason in Hawthorne, California, signing off.